Welcome back. As I mentioned, we have Carlos Rojas here, who is going to provide us a security update. Well, Carlos, thank you so much for coming in today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. We've had a few Zooms over the last several months, and so here we are in studio. So we appreciate you making that long trek across the street.
It's nice to be here in person.
Well, thank you. So a couple of things going on. Of course, we always have captains for each area. And I know you guys are looking for some, so tell me what that's all about.
Yeah, so we're recruiting for the Good Neighbor captains, and we're really looking to update our current roster. Mm-hmm. We don't have as many active captains as we've had in the past.
Okay.
And really the goal number one is for individuals to be prepared in the event of a disaster, and number two, to be that extra set of eyes and ears for the security department in the event of a disaster.
Okay, so tell me, what is a Good Neighbor captain? Like, what are their jobs?
So in terms of the Good Neighbor captain, they're really that information conduit that will provide information regarding their building, their neighborhood, their house to the security department. So we've organized a network to be able to filter that information and get it over to the first responders. That would be the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Authority.
Okay, and I know you have some training, and then they really don't meet very often, right? It's just kind of a once a quarter?
Yeah, so it's really not a heavy lift. So if somebody doesn't really want to put in a whole lot of time, the main thing is that we'll get them trained up on a form that would be filled out, that would go to the security department in the event of that disaster. And then we do have other opportunities, such as some courses or attending the Disaster Preparedness Task Force meeting, but those components aren't mandatory. But people that want to get a little bit more involved, it is available to them.
So it really is just in case of an emergency. I mean, that person is responsible to make sure like everybody is accounted for, and then they would radio that in, is that right?
Correct. They would. There's some that have radios. Others we've set up a system where they would go to their closest clubhouse to hand the form in to a radio operator who would provide that information to our operations center.
So if somebody was interested in being a Good Neighbor captain, what should they do?
Well, they could either email us or they can give us a phone call, and we'll go ahead and give them the details on what it entails and then get them on the roster.
How many Good Neighbor captains are you actually looking for?
As many as we can get.
So it doesn't matter. I mean, could you have two Good Neighbor captains for an area if you wanted?
Well, we would like to assign them to different buildings and different areas, just so we can, spread out those sources.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Well, good. And you guys are actively recruiting right now, because we just never know when we're going to have that next disaster.
Right.
And we'll talk about a potential disaster, at the end of our conversation.
All righty.
So now the next thing I wanted to ask you about is bike registration. So is bike registration for either a regular bike or an e-bike? Could it be either one?
It can be either one, and it's a new program that we've just launched. And what's great about it, it's something that we're able to do with existing staff, so it's not costing the residents any more money. And what it allows us to do is to have good identifiable information such as model and serial number to provide to the Sheriff's Department in the event a bike is lost or a bike is stolen.
Okay, so now if, is that pretty popular right now? I mean, are people's bikes getting stolen?
We aren't seeing necessarily an uptick, but on occasion we do have bike thefts, or sometimes a misplaced bike, and then they end up in the security department, and without any information on who the owner might be, it's difficult to get it back to them. So sometimes we have bikes where if we had that serial number, we could run it in our database and we could get it back to the owner in a timely manner.
Well, that makes sense. And some of those e-bikes, a lot of people bought e-bikes over the course of the whole pandemic thing. And those are very expensive, so I think you want to register those.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, good. Now, there is a form that they need to fill out, and that's online, right?
Correct. They can get that on the website, or then again, if they want more information, they can give us a call, and then we can get a form out to them.
Okay, great. Well, perfect. Well, thank you for that. All right, and then lastly, at the end of the month, October 21st, is the California Shakeout, and we were talking about earthquakes, and thank goodness we haven't had a large earthquake in a while, but you never know. So tell me what that's all about.
Yeah, so the California Shakeout, the Great Shakeout, happens every year in October. So this year it's October 21st at 10:21 a.m. And it's just a statewide drill. And we really want residents to start thinking about, in the event of an earthquake, what is it they would do? Where would they duck, cover, and hold until the earthquake or the earth stopped moving. And number one, we want them to be aware and get prepared in the event of a disaster. I know it's been a very long time since we've had an earthquake, but you never know. So we do have a disaster preparedness task force office here in the community center where folks can get their emergency supplies.
Well, right, and they have that go-to bag, which is great, and it's got lots of great stuff in there. Let's talk about a little bit about the whole, drop, duck. If you don't have a desk, where are you going to go?
Yeah, you always want to look at a place where you're not going to be subjected to falling objects.
Right.
And then, so it's a good time. This is a good time, just as a reminder, the California Shakeout, look around your house to make sure that you have shelves are secured to a wall so they won't fall over, and look at where you would be in your house at any given time and where's a good place where you would remain safe and away from any falling objects.
As well as windows, because windows could shatter and then that would be a problem for you. Now, I was just telling you off camera that I was looking around my room going, okay, where on earth would I go? And I could only go into the doorway. Is that still a viable place to go?
Absolutely. Going into the door frame is a very viable place for folks to go. And then, every structure's different. Everybody's ability to get under a table or to go downstairs or upstairs, all that has to be taken into consideration. So folks should just start thinking about, what am I going to do to be able to prepare in the event of a disaster? Where would I go in my residence?
Okay, great. And then one thing I wanted to touch on is the Disaster Preparedness Task Force group, which is, like you said, on the first floor of the Community Services Building. Can people get those attachments that you can put on your TV or a shelf or things like that there, or do they need to go to Home Depot?
I don't know if we have any in stock, so they may want to go to Home Depot across the street as well. But the folks that volunteer in the Disaster Preparedness Task Force office, they're very knowledgeable on various emergency supplies. So I really suggest people, even if they aren't going to buy anything there, to stop by and talk to the folks there.
Exactly. All right. Well, anything else?
Well, just want to, in general, want to say that things are very quiet and safe here in the community. One of the things that we do want to get out to the residents is we need people to slow down in the community, because we are seeing a little bit of an uptick in people speeding in the community. So we're asking folks to lower their speed so we can keep everybody safe.
And don't forget to stop at those stop signs.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and remember, if you want any information about what we've just discussed, you can send an email to chief@vmsinc.org. We'll be right back.